Hi everybody. If you read the show notes, you'll see that today we're going to reboot some nodes. Here, let's see. Pull up the show notes. We'll get around to this stuff shortly. Right now, my key's expired in Tailscale, so I need to take care of that so we can connect to cluster services like Grafana, Prometheus, things that we don't have exposed on the internet. We've GitOps, for example. Hi, Chris. We've just had a request from a viewer. Actually, who would like, we have a viewer, to see how we're going to use Tailscale to connect to things on the cluster that aren't exposed to the internet. I thought that was a pretty neat feature when I installed Tailscale on the cluster. Okay, so we'll go through the configuration a little bit here. I think it's in this Tailscale Kates repo. And it's not actually set up to use Flux. So this is based on Tailscale Kubernetes. They have a lovely article that explains how to do this, and I haven't read it in a while, so it's possible that they've updated it since then. But basically, the long and the short is they have you deploying a single pod to Kubernetes because that's kind of the way that it works. I've converted mine into a deployment, but you have to be very careful not to scale the deployment up. In fact, I'm prepared to scale it down right now so that we can let it recycle the key, since that appears to be the problem right now. I don't usually narrate this channel because it's very difficult for me to type and talk. So I may just navigate through the docs and let you see. But we have to wait for this to terminate first. Then we can scale up another one. And then hopefully it just gets a new key. The main requirement is that there can only be one. But then there is a second requirement that you sometimes need to do an OIDC authentication, which is a bit awkward for a deployment like this because you're supposed to do it through a browser. Click on a link to verify that you're the actual person. So here's that link. Tailscale has a lovely open source support package. So as I log in with Tailscale here, it is going to ask me which network I'd like to connect to, and this is my open source organization, rather than my single user. So the single user tailnet is very useful if you're not an open source organization, but okay, so we should be connected now. Now what you can't see off screen is I am logging in to Tailscale with the Tailscale client and checking the box. Now it says my device keys expired 1 hour ago, so I have to log in again. So this is a separate device here. And now they should be connected. If everything went okay. And we can see that they connected. And I should be able to let's see. So I have a Grafana service. I'm just not sure where it is. It's monitoring Q Prometheus stack Grafana. Okay, so if I put that in here, I should find, and we'll show how I did this in a minute here, because this is actually the cool part of the trick, and it's not, oh, if it works. It looks like I'm not connected, actually. It's making me log in again. Maybe there's a problem at Tailscale right now. This isn't going to work. Why would it do that? Here, this should tell me if we're connecting or not. Alright, now I've got the little T, like this, that says I'm connected. Okay, so I should be able to name not resolved. Alright, I'm going to see how does this work. So I connected again, so I have a feeling I lost my configuration when I did that. One of the things I have to make sure... Oh, no, I'm actually disconnected. Please log in. FB, something is wrong with my tailnet configuration. That's what it looks like here. Oh, we have some very different versions. That might be the problem. Yep, so normally how this works is, in your DNS config, you have a list of services that you like to exclude or reconfigure. So these are all pointed to my pie hole, so that they get resolved the way I like them to get resolved, whether they go through a proxy server or they're blocked or something like that. And then here, this is the big one. So this is telling me to use the cluster DNS, which should be on that port, if I am trying to resolve anything in svc.cluster.local. And then I also have this one. That's the same configuration. And so this is a split DNS config. So basically, every time I want a new namespace to be resolved locally, I can add it here and get this effect. And then I should be able to connect, but right now it appears I am not able to connect for some reason. I'm not sure what the problem is. Maybe there's a logs I can read. Okay, I guess it's just going to work this time. We're not going to find out what was wrong. We've just... Alright, so here we are. We're connected to the monitoring namespace. I actually have an ingress from my Weave GitOps, so... but we can look at one where there's not. I think I have a couple of them running. So the DNS resolution really works only on the top level cluster. So if I try to access a service now that's on this, yeah, I have nested clusters, by the way, on this nested cluster, I won't be able to use the name, but it's very easy for me to just plug in the cluster IP at this point, since I'm on the tailnet. That will work. And here's your Weave GitOps. Use my OIDC login. See if that works. I think it's not going to work because the callback URL is different, but I should be able to just plug my IP back in there again and get my OIDC token like I need, and I'm good to go. So this is one of the UIs we're going to check out today against kured. We have a goal, like we said, we'd like to reboot all of the nodes. So let's see if we can at least identify all of the nodes first. I don't think we're going to be able to find nodes on the Weave GitOps UI, actually. So I guess before we move on, we should look at how is the tail scale deployed so that we can do this. There's a bit of configuration involved. So this is the tail scale K8s repo. And I've bootstrapped in here at one point. But this is not set up using GitOps for my cluster right now because it requires that manual login step, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Oop, I'm logged out again. That's interesting. Well, we might not be able to use Tailscale today. I'll just try logging back in. It's okay because we're on the local network, so even if we can't... Yeah, I'm disconnected again. That's very odd. Well, I wonder if it does have something to do with the version. So let's update the version. Alright, so this was the doc that we followed, kind of. They're not really tailored for Flux. Yeah, and this is the configuration that we use. So we want a subnet router. So we have to tell it what service CIDR to route and what pod CIDR. Put those together into TS routes. I think I added additionally the local network so that we would have remote access. So we've got a directory for secrets, clusters, tail scale, namespace. Got a subnet router configuration here. This is not the active configuration. Somewhere I have a clone of their config. Maybe it's in this base directory, huh? No. App space tail scale. Okay, so this just pulls the latest tail scale. That's why my copy is so old, because I haven't rebuilt this in a while. And there's a make file to help you stand it up. And this is not going to delete my subnet configuration before it applies it again. Alright, so we're just going to create from a file and dry run client, so we get the output and it's going into the previous directory. That is where we will store it in Git. I think that is the intention of how I built this, because this is their config from their repo. I just copied it all into my repo. Okay, and what's happening here is we are taking this subnet.yaml file and we're substituting some values into it using sed. So we'll take a look at that file. So we could do this with Flux, but they've done this in their example for us, I guess, wherever I copied this from, so that we get a file that has all this stuff filled out in it already, including the routes and the secret. And we have a file called env that has our configuration in it. Okay, so we wanted image tag. We're going to increment that today. And service account name, cube secret, service CIDR, pod CIDR. We need to make sure that these match our configuration. I think that this is a different configuration I use for GKE or something else that I've used at a live demo. So we'll take a look and see, is our configuration right? We'll look at the existing deployment. That's back in the management cluster. All right, so here are the values. And we've been using -12 AMD64. I wonder if I'm behind Git here. So we'll go to 13 now. And we'll call it AMD64, because why not? Okay, and we need all of these routes to maintain the connectivity that we've been able to get, at least part-time here. So this one is home cider. And the load balancer cider is the same one, I guess. We actually have a second subnet at this house, so we'll put this second subnet in here, just in case we need it later. Can't hurt anything. And we're going to move this to below that so that we can get the correct value for routes. So pod cider was probably this one. Let's see. You have to look at a pod. Yeah, it's in the 38 subnet. 38. 38. .32. Well, I guess that's the same subnet. This is a big subnet. /12. And then the service we see that the load balancers are in that subnet, and the other services are in 10.96/12. Okay, so those are the values. Okay, and these are basically the steps you need to do to install this on your cluster. You need to make sure you have a Tailscale namespace. There's no secret management. You set, let's see, kubeconfig set context current namespace equals Tailscale. Okay, so let's make sure that your current namespace, I use kubeNS for that, is the Tailscale namespace, because this make RBAC is unaware of namespaces, and it will install in the default namespace if you let it. Okay, and then make subnet router. And I'm just going to check my bash history for what else did I run around that time. To see how did I, here we go. Yeah, so, okay, so if you override these variables, then they will override whatever you might have set from env. Cube secret, SA name, service cider. Right, so I'm going to leave all that stuff alone. And I'm just going to source that env file. Then I'm going to run make subnet router and export image tag make subnet router. Okay, so is it going to build a Docker image then? Build make RBAC subnet router. So I guess we need to build first. We want that image tag to be built. And that's going to contain a copy of our config, if I remember correctly, so that it can get loaded later as well, since it will be needed at runtime. Make build, make subnet router. So we're going to make subnet router. Since this image doesn't exist yet, it won't start on us. That'll be okay. Publish. I don't know what this is. Looks like the same thing. Oh. There. Oh. This is orb stack, by the way. I'm checking to see if these are multi-arch images or if they're AMD64. I hope that they are not multi-arch. Oh, they are. Alright, so I think I can just build the multi-arch and get rid of this dash AMD64 thing. How do I do that? I think I use dash dash target. Target all. No, maybe platform. I think I can build all those with QEMU. Remember to run make rback if you're doing this. I've already got the rback roles. And service account. And I do not have to log in again because we still have the secret from last time. So that makes this a bit more useful, right? That secret will only expire if it is used twice, as I understand it. It's an OIDC secret, so using it twice at the same time, like, for example, if you scaled up this deployment to 2, or if you allowed it to do a rolling restart, both of those could potentially cause the secret to become invalid. So I suppose there might be something reusing my tailscale secret, and that could explain why my local tailscale is... Let's see what does the portal look like at this point. Do we have... Alright, we're connected, and we have a little exclamation point here. So we have a new route. We have to edit route settings option in the machine menu because it has unapproved routes. So we have to edit the route settings here, and we can approve all of the routes. This warns us about the expiring keys. I'm not sure. These don't look like my routes exactly. So I guess it didn't take my configuration. Huh. We may have to build this again. So we're really just running tailscale in a pod, and it's giving us the access that it has available to it. So if you've configured your network well, this won't work at all. But for me, it works. What does that say about me? Yeah, I think you're right, Chris. That's what's wrong. I thought I did that in the env file, but I guess not. Let's see. So we'll want these values as well. They should come from the environment. Here, these are the values. This should export them, but if I messed up, looks like I might have messed up. Let's change both of these. Bad luck, 13. All right, we've got our environment. We've got routes, for example. We've got service cider, pod cider, make build. Should be very fast. That's good. And make subnet router. Should update that file. Which just does that. And then this is not a repo that's monitored by GitOps, so we just need to apply that file. Oh, and we're going to see that problem now because here we are rolling restart. That's a mistake. No, something is still not set correctly. It's not a valid IP address or site or prefix. Guess we better look at that Docker file again. mkdir cache permission denied. One of these might be responsible too. So let's see if they did actually update their tutorial somehow. We'll need to set, what is TS routes? Okay, so we only have run.sh at runtime. We don't have anything else except for, alright, so that needs to tell us everything. And routes might not be the correct, let's see, it has advertised routes. So how is it launching? Now, it calls this image with this environment, routes. So it doesn't really matter if they updated theirs to say TS routes, unless Well, maybe we just need to use the same variable name that they're advertising now. Good question. I think I want to check what else they've fixed recently. Let's see. Don't call kubectl directly from makefile. Oh, that's cool. Maybe I should just borrow all of this. Just bring it all up to date. Where did I get this? It must be from the same document. Alright, let's just take everything. Are we not building Docker images anymore? Maybe that's the issue. I just need to abandon my run.sh script and let their variables take care of everything. I didn't really think it made a lot of sense to embed the configuration in the image, but maybe that was my idea all along and not their idea. I'm not sure. Which config is mine? Cube secret. Looks like mine is the one on the right. Yeah. Okay, so we'll just take their config now. Yeah, so we don't need to build our own images anymore. That's great. They fixed it. So git update patch. Secrets. That's because it needs to save the key that it generates somewhere from your OIDC. That's why you're able to connect a second time when you shut down and start again. Just taking their new licenses. Great. New license, BSD, I love it. So these all different configurations. I'm not using them all. I'm only using subnet router. And hopefully they are logging me out because I'm on such an old client version and they want to make sure that they let me know that I need to upgrade for some reason. That would be great. I would love to know that. Say, hey you there, you the one particular person who's using this obsolete subnet router that's probably loaded with CVEs. Fix it. Okay. Thanks, Tailscale. Alright, so fingers crossed it's going to work this time. Yeah, let's put all this stuff in Git. And we won't need that anymore. Tailscale source env. That's okay. And that looks good. TS routes, publish.sh. Okay, so this script is unused now. And we can apply the updated RBAC configuration. And we can apply the subnet router. Oh, and it's given me a pod again. That was one of the things that I apparently changed from their configuration. Yeah, I don't want a pod. How easily can we just convert this pod back into a deployment? All right, so we want to move the pod spec down into this pod spec here and put this stuff at the top instead of what we've got currently in our spec, which is a pod spec. So we'll have a new spec that starts out like this. We want those right here. And then these things go over by 2. They're part of the template. There. Right? Yeah, okay. Now this is great. We've got everything looks like it's where it goes. I think that looks correct. I think that's correct. No, we still don't have it. Alright, it's got to be TS routes. And it's TS cube secret and TS SA name, and this is not used anymore. I don't know if that's correct. No, it's just SA name. Everything else is TS. Cube secret, TS user space is true. TS auth key is TS auth key. Okay. So that is just SA name. Everything else looks fine. What is this? That is not. Ah. All right, now if everything is fine, it's not fine. Missing get permission on secret tailscale auth. Please check your RBAC config multiple errors. Okay. Trying to remember the name of the program that I use to check out RBAC. It's not this. Is it a crew plugin? Roll some, that's it. Tailscale token, RP2PT. All right, so I was able to edit secrets, create, secrets create, secrets get update patch. So it says it cannot get the secret. Tailscale auth. I don't think we need that secret. So it was missing get and update permission on secret. All right, is it bound to a service account? Service account. Tail scale. Service account name, tail scale. Some permissions are missing. TS cube secret. Resource names. Ah. Alright, so we have incorrect RBAC. Getting auth key from cube secret. Secret's tail scale auth not found. Maybe we did need that secret. I think. Should be able to create that secret. All right, that's the secret. We're just going to create an empty secret. See if that helps. Yeah, that was what it needed. It needed an empty secret to be created. All right, we'll try this one more time. Authorize tail scale. It says we're connected. Now what about my local client? That's the one that was having the problem before. Maybe it was just having a connectivity issue. Well, we're getting booted out because of the mismatch. Let's see. It says we're connected now. Alright, we've got unapproved subnets. Edit route settings. Still don't have the route that we wanted. Still not setting routes correctly. Here, we've got TS routes set, so why isn't it setting those routes? I think we do need to create a volume where this cache is trying to deposit itself. Oh, thank you. You're right. This one isn't even here anymore. Yeah, those are the routes we wanted to see, and we would like to allow this to be used as an exit node. It's not going to do that because we didn't pass the right options in. That's okay. But are we still connected locally? Yes, it kind of looks like we are. Okay. All right. Yeah, we did this earlier, and that worked for us. Still works. Okay, great. I think that was it. I think we needed to upgrade tail scale. It's working now. That's awesome. Cool. So we actually had a goal for this episode. We wanted to see the nodes and reboot them using kured. We had a secondary goal. We wanted to mess with some Helm releases. I don't know if we're going to get to all that, but we did tail scale, so that was fun. All right. So these are the nodes. And they're literally on my local network, so I'm just going to SSH to each of them. And we'll just see if they have any upgrades. 2 of these nodes have their kernel version pinned because of a weird thing that's happening with DKMS that I will not try to elaborate any further on unless we trip over it. We can do this on the second node while we wait. And we actually want to reboot, even though it doesn't say there's a reboot required. We said we were going to see it reboot. So we're going to touch the reboot required file that kured looks for. And then we're going to watch the nodes. And we're going to do the same thing on the second workstation. And we're going to watch the nodes. And then we're going to go to the third workstation. Here we go. Is it getting signals? No? Yep. All right. That one got first. So what's happening right now, I'll show you this little script and then we'll see how it works in a minute, is kured is opening every few minutes a privileged NSEnter process to mount the host file system to see if this file is present on the host. And if it is, then it's time to reboot that node. So it will drain the node and it will reboot the node. And we'll lose connectivity with the cluster because this is actually the control plane master node here. So I can't really tell if, let's see. So it's draining pods. So anything that was running there, we just saw, we didn't see. I'll show you what notifications I have configured here. So got BotCube running. I haven't configured the Flux plugin yet, but they have a Flux plugin. We can see it just restarted. Okay. And that must be because it was running on this node. So I have the taints disabled because I only have 3 nodes. I'd like for them all to be used. So what we should see when it's done rebooting is that file isn't present anymore. Because it's removed during the reboot process. This is some kind of an OS standard. And we're going to upgrade this one too, and hopefully we get that new Linux kernel I heard so much about. Oh, I hear a reboot. Yeah, we did lose our connection to the cluster here. It's going to take a minute for that to come back, but that's okay. We are getting some errors now. Some of these errors are normal. Some of these pods might actually fail to come back until that node is ready, because they have persistent volumes that pin them to that particular node. We'll see. But it should be a fairly orderly reboot cycle here. Yeah, it's back. It's still in scheduling disabled because kured has to confirm that it's online and it can be reached before it will remove the scheduling disabled taint. I think there's some kind of a lock. Kured makes sure that it's only rebooting one node at a time. So we should be able to tail... Let's see. It's in the cube system namespace. Kured stern kured. Here we go. So we're uncordoning HP Worker 02. Now it's back and ready. And shortly we should hear from HP Worker 01. Who is also about ready for a reboot. We're going to upgrade this one too. I didn't see. Did we get a Linux kernel upgrade? It looks like we don't have one. Bummer. So I think we're not going to try this today, but I got a new document camera. It's not really new, it's just been on my shelf for a long time. I can write things and make diagrams. I think we'll use that next time. Here we go, evicting a bunch of pods. So here's our next one, HP Worker 01, ready to go. Again, we get a lot of noise from BotCube because pods are being cycled, and BotCube tells you about basically everything that happens on your cluster by default. It's not exactly an intrusion detection system, but at least you know when something is going on. That's kind of helpful. You know, if there's an upgrade or if there's a pod that's in a failed state. I will get those alerts eventually from Prometheus, but this is a little bit higher situational awareness level. Pretty cool. So what we'd like to see from our UIs, and let's pull up another UI because we have more than one UI we're going to test today. We would like to see... Sorry. Still getting used to this multi-monitor thing here. We would like to see if a Helm release that lands in a failed state gives us any indication of what's going wrong. Yeah, so this is the main feature of kured here. We've got another node that's ready to reboot. It would be rebooting right now, except there's already another node rebooting. And kured will also integrate, if you like, with Prometheus, so that when there's any active alert other than the watchdog, it will give you the same courtesy. We don't want nodes just to begin rebooting randomly because an automatic upgrade ran during an incident. That would be less than ideal. Alright, so we see now that it is doing the reboot after it's drained. So it does this in an orderly fashion. It's not rebooting until all of the workloads have been relocated, if possible. What's this? We'll get orb stack updated while we're waiting. Orb stack is very nice, by the way. I have been using Rancher Desktop, but orb stack boots a lot quicker. I think it uses the native virtualization frameworks a little bit better. I read something that led me to believe it would be faster, and it sure is. Alright, so this time we maintain connectivity to the control plane because it's not rebooting. Something else is rebooting. And the node is back online, but it's still scheduling disabled because it's been drained and cordoned. Alright. And normally the cycle is a lot longer too. We don't really need nodes to reboot this quickly unless we're doing it in an attended way like I am. I only have 3 nodes, so I don't mind rebooting them manually every once in a while. You see we've got lots of memory now. So what I was thinking we would do is we'll change the kured version. First we're going to look at the kured release notes and find out what changed in version 2.0 of the chart to make it necessary to bump the version. I think we're on chart version 2 at this point. And I guess the chart is hosted somewhere else. Here we go, charts. Oh, we're well past 2.0. Alright, so we'll see if we can break something, get the release to fail, and we'll see if our UIs are of any help to put that back together. I don't know. How are we going to break this? I don't think that's going to break anything. Here we've got metrics create, labels release. Well, let's just try it. We're in rebooting. We're rebooting the third node, and now we're having a problem reaching Dex because it's being restarted. I suppose we would see that in one of these errors. If we're watching very closely, you see enterprise cluster service went down that time. Don't know why we're losing connectivity now. That seems strange. Maybe that's where the tail scale is running. Or maybe it's just where Dex was running. Or maybe it's where the traffic router was running. That would make the most sense. Well, I guess it's just Dex that's down because we can still reach the control plane. Says the node is back. Get our pods back? No. Maybe it's tail scale. Oh, that's a different error. I didn't get that error before. That's looking promising. Maybe things will be improving for us now. We'll take a look and see what's wrong. Well, all that stuff is wrong. How long will it take for those things to come back? Let's see. Not too long. They're already coming back. So it was a sort of controlled demolition, but not really. Let's see, how long will these things take to come back? Alright, so we've got an error. That's what we were aiming for. We don't have notifications configured on this cluster, so we have to rely on a UI. We'll see if we can make any sense of that. Let's see. Looks like there's a fair number of errors on this cluster right now. Actually, here's Cube System. That's very odd. Why do we get this cluster.loft.sh helm release? I have no idea. I don't think that's even on this cluster. So this is a pre-release version. We've had we found this issue. We haven't figured out exactly why it happens. This is one of the things that's holding us back from making this a full release. Why is it looking for this CRD that we don't even have installed? Is it present on other clusters? I don't know why it would have any information from another cluster right now. We do have another cluster. Maybe we can try the other cluster. It's got this error in a Helm release right now, so the monitoring is pretty helpful. Let's put it that way. Not setting up the monitoring is one of the most problematic mistakes that you can make, not availing yourself of the events, which will tell you what's going on as it happens. So this is the Mu cluster here. This is a V cluster. And it's the one that's set up with this here monitoring, I believe. I think that's where we have Prometheus installed. No. No, I guess I did set up some monitoring on this cluster. Yeah, okay. Alright, let's try this one out in the UI. So we should be on that one. Don't need this file. Yeah, that's, for some reason this is the cluster that doesn't work with. I don't know why it thinks we need Loft Helm releases. Alright, well, we're not going to be able to get this thing done today, but hopefully the rest of the stream was useful. Thanks for following along.